Your healing journey can't be fought by anyone else. It can't be reversed. It can't be diminished by anyone else. It's all you, babes. It's all you. You got it. It's you. You have to go through this on your own. Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to the Black Girl Healing Diaries, a safe space for healing journey rookies, self-care startups, the baddies in the midst of a breakdown, and anyone looking to improve their sense of self. You've come to the right place. I'm Tumi Adeyoju, a matcha lover, a diverse content creator, and your new self-love bestie. These entries are my own experiences and words, so take what resonates and leave the rest. This is the Black Girl Healing Diaries. Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to my channel. This is episode 1 of, you could say, a podcast. I'm gonna call it a podcast, even though it's not up on like other, what do you call it, streaming services. I'm going to call it a podcast, but this is the first episode of the Black Girl Healing Diaries, my own creation, my own thoughts, my own ideas. For any newcomers, if you do not know me, I'm Tumi Adeyoju. I'm a Houston, Texas content creator. I make lifestyle, beauty, wellness, and fashion videos all over the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. You know how it be. And I am also a 23-year-old going through this life and going through my healing journey that I've been on since about 2020 is when I first decided, we're going to try and actually be intentional with our healing, be intentional with ourselves. So you may be wondering, what is the Black Girl Healing Diaries? Well, it's a series / concept that I started. I started back in my TikTok with like little mini vlogs, but I was like, you know what? 60 seconds just can't cut it for what I actually want to talk about, for what I actually want to say to empower young Black women and to just help other people in their own healing journey. It's a space where I can provide tips and advice on lessons, life lessons, relationships, friendships, self-care, anything of the sorts, being a Black woman in this world and how that correlates to maybe, spiritual aspects or our natural hair, things and that such. I'm here to give advice and tips on that, for you guys from what I've learned to y'all. And of course, this is going to come with some story times and experiences that I've had. This is a big step for me because I usually don't share much stories or much experiences, like personal ones, I would say, in detail on any of my socials. I very much make it very vague, and I guess that was because I was scared to tell my own side of things or tell my own perspective of stories, and then the person that may know that was in that experience may come on and be like, that's not how it happened. But I'm not going to be using anyone else's names unless they consent to it, of course. But I live this life. I experience things as well. So I'm going to be telling you what I've learned from those story times and experiences. Pretty much, see me like your self-love bestie, the person that you go to when you're just like, I need someone to tell me how it is, to set me straight, give me the straight facts of certain things. Well, I'm here for that. And for the first episode, I actually wanted to talk about the process of healing and the things that I've done so far, to empower myself in my healing journey when I started and up till now. First things first, I know when people talk about healing journeys, they're always curious, okay, a healing journey, do you just start? How do you start? Where do you start? How do you know that you're ready to start? I would say your healing journey is literally starts with self-awareness. It's when you realize that you have a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, a lot of issues that are hindering your daily life, your relationships, your friendships, simple things in your life that really it should not hinder, and it bleeds out into the rest of your life. I feel like when you see that your past pain, trauma, and things of that such are debilitating you, that's when you know it is time to start healing. And you are always healing, whether you are aware or intentional with it or not, you're always healing. But I feel like there's a difference with your healing journey. It is when you decide to be intentional. You make action steps, goals, and you start actually doing the work in order to break down these walls that we've built up in our head or in our body. I know for me, when I first started my healing journey, it was back in, I want to say, end of 2020, maybe going to 2021, is when I realized that a lot of past traumas and past pain had been hindering me deeply, more deeply than I probably gave it. It gave me a lot of trust issues, anxious attachment styles. It was hindering how I would connect with my friends, the friends that I've had for years. It was hard for me to trust them and connect with them. It was hard for me to connect with my family. It was hard for me to connect within myself and understand who I am, because I was just holding on to all this anger and frustration and pain and sadness that had accumulated over the years that I just didn't know how to conceptualize and how to process and move on from. And so I decided in my head, I was like, you know what? It may be time for me to like actually do something about it. One of my very best friends, I call them Bean. They were just like, you need like actual like help. And they weren't saying that in like a rude way. They were just saying like, you need therapy, like you need to go and intentionally try and break these down, because I feel like if you don't, this is going to get worse. And everyone is out of their bounds to help you. The only one that can help you right now is yourself. And I love them, and they definitely shook me into reality. And when that happened, I was like, yeah, you're right. I think it's time I actually like do something about it. So in 2021, I started therapy. And that's when I knew it was just like the perfect timing, because already I was opening up about so many things that have happened to me in past childhood stuff and middle school and high school. And at that point, 2021, I was already 20. And it was just shocking with how much I was holding on, especially with what I was holding on from what had been happening to me recently and in current times. When it comes to healing, you have to take that big step of being aware that you need help, aware that whatever is happening to you is not benefiting you. And to think that was the first step of healing, is this self-awareness. That's actually the easiest step when it comes to the process of healing, is finally saying I'm ready to heal. That's the easiest part. The next part, or however many years that you go through your healing, that's where you really feel the test of patience, your test of integrity and courageousness and determination and resilience. That is where it's tested, the next part. Because the next step in my process of healing was refusing all these tropes. We all know them, especially my Black women. We know the independent Black girl trope where, we're independent Black women. We can do whatever we need to do. We can do it by ourselves. We don't need no help. We don't need anyone's help. We are independent. I can do this. I'm a strong Black woman. And yes, you are. You are strong, but you can be strong and still feel delicate in the same way. There's a toxic part to the strong, independent Black women trope, and it is that it leaves Black women being seen as so independent that they somehow cannot feel emotions, that they don't feel sadness, that they aren't allowed to feel sadness, they aren't allowed to feel frustration, anger, defeat, failure. They aren't allowed to feel all those negative feelings because you're independent. So you should be able to feel strong, empowered, 24/7, and never feel anything else. Lies. That is all lies, because we are human. Black women, we are human. We are not superhuman. We are not above humans. We are human. And to any of those independent girls, no matter who you are, it can feel very lonely and it can feel very frustrating, because you feel like everyone just abandons you in your time of need. You're always there for everyone else, but you're not there for yourself. And whenever you are there for yourself, you're looking around and it's like everyone's just like, well, you got it. It's like, no, I don't got it. I need help. And everyone's like, but you're independent. You act so independent. Just because someone acts independent doesn't mean they don't need help. I feel like it's kind of like when you see a toddler, like they need help walking at first, but then once they got it, they're just like, I don't need help. I don't need help. They like wave you away. But then you kind of realize sometimes that they're kind of scared to go off on their own. And they kind of look at you with that look of like, can you help me? They don't want to ask because they're like, I want to be independent, but they need help. An odd comparison, I know. But it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. You gotta admit, it kind of makes sense. You need to refuse the strong, independent black girl trope because it is what is hindering you from letting yourself get help, letting yourself feel the need to need somebody else in order to carry you along on this journey. Now, don't get me wrong, the healing journey, part of the process is the loneliness. It can feel lonely, it can get lonely because sometimes a part of it is you have to cut out people that they just aren't serving you in your journey. They're toxic to their journey, they're not needed, and the universe, God, whoever you believe in, will take them out for you and be like, hey, they're not serving you. They're not serving you in the best ways. They're not there to aid you or help you. And it can feel lonely because it can feel like every which way everyone's leaving you. But of course, I was going to say, like, you're not the problem. But sometimes, look, sometimes our individual selves are the problem. We just got to admit that. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, and this kind of goes into the next process of like healing, is learning to be your biggest supporter because it's going to get lonely, because it's going to get very isolating sometimes where it feels like you're just going through your own battle in your own head. And that's kind of true. Your healing journey can't be fought by anyone else. It can't be reversed. It can't be diminished by anyone else. It's all you, babes. It's all you. You got it. It's you. You have to go through this on your own. Figuratively. Physically, of course, have your friends, have your family, lean on them, lean on your friends, lean on your family, talk to people for support. But at the end of the day, the actions you take in order to reverse any flaws, to heal any traumas, it's all you, babes. It's all your actions, it's all your choices. And you have to learn to be your biggest supporter because when it comes to like validation, it's great to get the external validation from your friends and family, from your loved ones, from your partners. But when you really, really need that validation, the external can only do so much. You can only hear so much, you got this, so much, I love you, I'm here with you, so much, I understand, and I'm here to help you. You can only hear that so many times until you're just like, I don't think anyone understands. And sometimes our loved ones won't understand what we're going through because there are certain experiences that they didn't go through that you went through, So you need to be your biggest supporter so that validation can also come from the inside. And when you have that internal validation, oh, baby, it is strong. That internal validation will push you farther than any external validation because you have built that foundation in order to push yourself to still become better. And in your dire need, when you feel like giving up, when you feel like the fight is just too much and it's just not worth it anymore, that external validation is not going to cut it. So then you tap into your internal validation, and that's when you remember, I am literally a bad bitch. I'm literally a bad bitch. What am I doing? I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going because we're taking it one day at a time. We're taking it easy. We're taking it soft. And we're remembering that we are still human and we're giving ourselves grace. It's just complex, healing. It's a very complex thing because it's so individualized for everyone. No healing journey is the same. There may be similar aspects. Maybe some people go through similar situations, but the thing is, everyone heals differently. Everyone has different coping mechanisms, whether they're bad or negative, whether they're bad or positive. Everyone has the same situations, but different ways to cope with them, which makes healing journeys so complex. But within a healing journey that kind of connects us all together is you have to learn to move on. And I'll admit, I'm personally still learning this aspect. I know how to move on from certain situations, but recently I've hit a roadblock in moving on from a lot of stuff that has recently happened, or even happened in the past 5 years, or even happened, shoot, when I was like 8 years old. Learning to move on is a very difficult concept because that requires sometimes forgiving the person that hurts you without ever getting any type of, consolement, any type of apology, any type of reconciliation. Sometimes you just have to forgive and forget and try and keep it pushing without ever getting to hear those words of I'm sorry or I wronged you and that was not right. The past is in the past, and it sucks because you can't change the past. We can always sit up at night and look up to the ceiling and just replay scenarios in our head, being like, I really could have done this, or I should have said this, or I should have done that, and maybe this would have happened instead of that. We can do that for days to come. But that will only roadblock us in our healing because we're not moving on. We're not accepting what has happened and being like, you know what, that did happen. That was a sucky thing they did to me. Or that was a sucky thing they did to me and I should not have responded in that way. But I gotta move on. Life continues around you whether you like it or not. So when you learn to move past it, it makes you stronger. It makes you also realize the things that maybe you didn't realize back then in that moment. You know, it brings out certain aspects of you that you're like, you know what, this is what I need to work on. Or, you know what, this is something that I want to keep within myself. Setting boundaries, setting up for yourself. Maybe you didn't stand up for yourself enough. Maybe you people pleased. Things like that, So moving on can really highlight a lot of things that you may not have seen before and things that you probably need to work on. And that beautifully goes into the aspect of your healing journey that I feel like sometimes is a rough one, especially if you are a child of immigrant parents like me. And that is therapy. We all know the word, we've all heard it, and we all know the stereotypes around it. In my family, I was the first person to go to therapy. Gotta set the standard over here. But yeah, I was the first person to go to therapy, and it wasn't taken well the first time I brought it up. It turned into an argument. And I understand. I understand how my parents are and where they're coming from. They're both Nigerian immigrants. My dad came here when he was 17, 18. My mom came here when she was in her late 20s, early 30s, like literally the year before she had my brother, which was 1995. So put two and two together, that's a really long time. And to put two and two together, those are also very different experiences that they've had in this world that I, of course, have not had. But also something about coming from the Nigerian culture, or I want to say even just like African like culture, like immigrant culture, is that mental health is just not taken seriously because back then it was like mental health, like depressed, like of course you're sad. Look at the situation all around us, like depressed, like just get up and get over it. That was kind of the mantra: is you just keep it pushing, just keep moving on. And I feel like that's why Gen Z and like millennials are kind of seen as soft because we actually take care of our problems. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. We actually like go to therapy and we recognize that, hey, my brain doesn't function normally. Maybe I have ADHD. Maybe I have OCD. My brain doesn't function the way that a normal brain would. I sleep for hours on end and I lose motivation for all the things I love. Maybe I am depressed. Maybe I am socially anxious because why does my heart rate go 2 times as fast whenever I have to say a simple hi to a teacher in class? Things like that. I feel like it's hard to acknowledge those things in that type of environment. And so because of that, you kind of take on the mantra of like just keep it pushing. You push it down, you push it down, you push it down, and you just keep it pushing. But eventually, if you're like me, you kind of hit a breaking point and you hit a mental breakdown, which is what happened to me in 2020. Yeah, it was 2020. I'm trying to remember because I blocked it out, but it was 2020. I had a mental breakdown and it just ruined me. All the pain, all the trauma that I had been pushing away just came crashing on me because something else happened and it was like it broke the dam. And when I told my parents I wanted to go to therapy, they're like, why need therapy? You know, what problems do you have? Why are you depressed? Like are we not doing enough for you? No, no. And I had to explain to them that no, it's not you. It's not that you didn't do enough. It's just life handed me these cards. I was dealt these cards in life, and a lot of the part of life that happened was when I was in school. You're in a classroom full of the same kids for 8 hours, Monday through Friday. Your parents aren't there to protect you or save you from certain traumas. They're just not. And I had to explain that to them that, like, look, a lot of things that I went through was in school. It was things connected with school that you guys could never save me from. It was things connected with family life that, unfortunately, at the time, I was young. No one to listen to a young person. So I wasn't really, able to heal myself from that or protect myself from that. If you need to get help, if you know that it is time to get the help that you need, go get it. We live this life once. This is your life. This is your life. You need to do what you need to do in order to protect your own life, to protect your own mental state, to protect your own sanity. And if that's therapy, if that's medication, if that is going to rehab or any other resources, you do what you need to do because you know what's best for your life. It can be hard to be in an environment that doesn't showcase that, but I'll be happy to say my parents eventually did come around to therapy, and they said how happy they are to see that I've changed for the better and that I have gotten more confident. I've gotten more aware. I've just become a better version of myself and not like the shell of a person that I was before. So if that gives anyone hope that situation can change, I hope that does. But healing is a never ending journey, babes. It's always going to be happening. And don't take that as a discouragement, as something that you need to be afraid of. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to heal. Because healing is what's going to change you into the highest version of yourself, a version of yourself that you couldn't even think you could imagine to get to. But you gotta heal. You gotta look within yourself. You gotta be self-aware. You gotta acknowledge your mistakes and your flaws and be open to fixing them and be open to learning from them to become that new person that you want to be. Change doesn't just happen. Sometimes you gotta push it a bit in order for it to happen. We gotta do our own part. We can't just sit here and be like, well, I'm gonna grow into a better person just by, sitting here and doing the same thing I always do. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. And when you keep practicing those bad habits, that cognitive thinking, that negative mindset, when you keep practicing that, you're not practicing anything good that's going to benefit you. You're practicing something that over time is going to deteriorate you even more. Healing, it connects with you religiously, if that's you, religiously, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. It connects to you in all different aspects. It isn't just about your inner soul. It reflects out to your life, to how you live, to the career you work in, to the people you meet, to the vacations you have. It reflects on everything and it connects to everything. Healing isn't just some hocus pocus, whatever, mumbo jumbo. No, it is not that. Healing is very real. It's a concept that I feel like everyone should look into, should look within themselves to do, because I feel like no one is above healing. We all have things we need to heal from. Even the most happiest, mentally well person has something, some type of pain that they need to move on from in order to release a blockage from their life. And like I said, that's where I come in. This podcast is here for your healing journey. It's here so we can talk about different topics that have to do with our healing, whether it's self-love, self-care, love, relationships, college, post-grad, being a Black woman and dating in Houston. We can talk about anything, my God. We can talk about anything. And I'll be here to give my own perspective, to give my own advice as a 23-year-old here in this world. This God-forsaken world, I swear. That's another topic for another day. But if anything I said today resonates with you, if you feel a push to go into that space, go into that healing journey, I applaud you. I'm here for you. I'm here rooting for you. I created my social channels to create a community of safe space for people to have the space to be open like that. And if you would like to join, the subscribe button is down below. Make sure you like my videos if you want to see it more on your For You page and things and that such. Here's a little cheers to the first episode of the Black Girl Healing Diaries. I'm so glad that we had this little chat, and I'm so happy to see you here, and I hope to see you on the next episode. Until next time, my beautiful souls. Bye.